just either slightly different from what they are. We see things are not normal.
Welcome to Strange Familiars. If you've seen something strange or paranormal, a cryptid like Bigfoot, a UFO, a ghost, or if you know of a story you think we should cover, you can email us, strangefamiliarspodcast@gmail.com. Second show of the week.
Is it the same week?
We say that every time.
This time I was legitimately asking.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. We will continue to try to do extra content during the sequester. I may have to take occasional breaks because of other things I'm working on, but when we can, we'll give everybody some extra content. Tonight, I'm going to be talking with Gage, who has a story of a white Bigfoot.
Ooh.
But Gage's friends saw the same Bigfoot and saw something different.
Then how's it the same Bigfoot?
They saw it at the same time.
Ooh.
Very, very interesting.
All right.
Very, very interesting. After I talk to Gage, I've got some interesting news, speaking of white things, as regards Site 7. So you want to stick around for that. Mm-hmm. But let's go ahead and hear Gage's story. Tonight, we're talking with Gage, who contacted us about a Sasquatch encounter. Can you tell us when and where this happened to, as close as you want to get? You don't have to be super specific.
Yeah, well, I was just in a suburb of Portland called Hillsborough, which is, you head west from Portland, you run through Beaverton, then you hit Hillsborough. It's a little further out there. And it is still not so much anymore, but it was at the time, this is 20 years ago, it was all farm fields. And, we lived in like this little cul-de-sac community. There was like a golf course and like this little cul-de-sac community right off the highway. And then it was just fields everywhere.
And did this happen about 20 years ago?
Yeah, this happened. Yeah, about 20 years ago. I was 9 or 10 when it happened. I think I would err closer to 9. Because, yeah, it was over 20 years ago now. It was almost closer to 25 years ago now. And so it was like late 90s, mid-late 90s. Mm-hmm. So we had just moved there to this area maybe... I don't know, like 6 months before. It was kind of like an ideal thing, for a 9-year-old little boy, right? There was I moved in the neighborhood. There was 3 kids, exactly my age. And, and I became really, really good friends with, 2 of them. And we had, in this little cul-de-sac area, kind of abutting to the cul-de-sac, this huge... woodlands. It was for 2 of them, it was literally their backyard, and for me, I lived across the street, so we spent all of our time in there. We'd get off school and we'd go out and play in the woods. Right, there was there's this creek that ran through it, and it just went on and on forever. There was tree forts and stuff. So, I mean, we spent all of our time in there. It's just kind of where we went to play. And then, then summer hit, and it was we would wake up, eat breakfast, then we'd all meet up and we'd just go into the forest and we'd play all day, and then this was mid 90s, late 90s, our parents, it was just like, come back home when the street lights turn on or whatever.
Right.
And I mean, that's just what we did, like, every day. And so, with the summer, we're not, we're just going to go meet out and play. And I think we're going to go, like, pick blackberries, and we have, they're weeds here. So, and we all went out, and we kind of, like, we used to make, like, lunches, like little peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and stuff them in our backpacks, and we'd go out, just exploring. And so we meet up, and we start walking in to the woods, and it's completely normal for 15, 20 minutes. We've walked down this path hundreds and hundreds of times. It's like, we know every tree, it's just completely normal. And we're just kind of, there's three of us, me and two other friends, and we're just in there walking. We're just kind of like starting our day off, and maybe we go swim in the creek, or pick some blackberries, or we used to have blackberry fights, which I'm sure our parents hated, getting the stains out, but what are you going to do? And so we start getting in there, and I had my one friend, he and I were kind of like, we hated each other, like when I first moved there. It's because we were both like, it's like, how like in a group of friends, like you naturally just have like someone who's like kind of like the leader of the group of friends when you're a little kid.
Oh, sure, yeah.
We were both that guy, and so we had kind of a pissing match for a while, but then it turned out like we became like just best friends. And the guy behind us was more of like a he was a bit of a nerd, and he was kind of a scaredy cat, and so he was behind us. And so, but we're walking, and the friend up front with me, he's first like the woods, like it started feeling weird, like not like ominous. It just it didn't feel like it normally did.
Right.
And I looked over at him, and like I could tell that he kind of like picked up on it too. And then like we all just kind of we got quiet, because like 3 9-year-old boys walking through the woods, we're making a lot of noise, we're laughing, talking about whatever, just being idiots, I imagine. And then but then like it's like the woods changed, and we all just got quiet, and we kind of slowed down, and we're walking. We're still going in, because it's like, it's like, what's going on here? And then it gets dark, which is like one of the things that just kind of blows me away to this day. It was like it visibly darkened, and I think I live in Portland. It's like, don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes. Like, I'm sure it was just like a cloud went over the sun or whatever, and then it got quiet too. And then like, so now like I'm kind of like low key freaking out now, like something's wrong here, and like I can tell my buddy is the same way, and then the guy behind us, he's always freaking quiet, so it's and then so we're coming around this bend in the trail, and there's this tree, right, the big old tree that had fallen down like who knows how long ago, and it got caught up in between like a couple other trees, and this thing was probably sitting 6 feet up in the air. And so at that point in the trail, we would always you have to duck under it, and then you just keep on going. I mean, we knew where it was. It was like right after this bend, and then like we'd all duck under, and then there was another 100 yards, and there was a creek. And but so we're walking, we come around the bend, and on top of like this fallen down tree is this big white thing. And then so like we stop, right? And then we look up at it, and then as I'm looking up on it, like I'm not kidding you, as I'm looking up at this thing, there's like the sun pokes back out, right? And we're in it, and like this one beam of freaking sunlight hits this thing. It was so freaking cinematic, man. Like I'll never forget it. It was just bizarre. And then it jumps down, and like you can hear it when it hits. It's like this visceral thud. And then like we just sat there, and I don't know how long we sat there. But it wasn't, I know it wasn't too long, but like eventually one of us, I don't know which one of us it was, one of us yells, "Run." And we took off. Yeah. That's pretty much, I mean, that's it. That is like the short and sweet of what happened. I mean,
so everyone made it out safely. Let's establish that. With no further incidents.
No further incidents. We were, I mean, I didn't look behind me, but we all met up at the end of it, and yeah, it was like, yeah.
So
I mean,
it was white in color.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Can you describe more how it looked, as the length of the hair as best you can, and the face if you saw it?
So it was white. The hair was like to kind of like if I were to, so I've described it before as like, I don't know if you've ever seen or had, like, I had a pretty white dog.
Mm-hmm.
And he was, he had kind of medium hair, and like, it's like it was white fur, but how it's like, your dog's fur, it's like it's like an off-white kind of a dirty looking kind of thing. Sure, yeah. And its hair wasn't like, you wouldn't be braiding it, it was just like this medium fur. The skin I remember as being like not dark, more like just like a really, really, really kind of deep, like creamy tan, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And then, and it was built like it looked like it looked like a bodybuilder. It was just built, man. Like the huge wide shoulders. It wasn't a narrow waist or whatever, but it was kind of, it kind of had like a V taper kind of thing. Mm-hmm. It wasn't, and you could see, like, on its legs, you could see like its muscles on its legs from when it like had jumped down, and I don't know, it just looked built, like just crazy built. Yeah, I mean, its face, like, I remember looking at its face, but I can't really put any hard description on it. It wasn't like gorilla, and it wasn't human. It was kind of like, it was kind of like in between. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like you would never like mistake this for like a guy walking down the street.
It was right. Something different than just a hairy man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe like its head was way above that log. And I put it at like 7.5, maybe 8 feet tall. But then again, it's like I'm 9. Well, I was maybe like 4.5 feet tall. Who knows? So.
Well, I mean, you knew how tall the adults in your life were.
Yeah.
And it
was bigger than Dad.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just really brief. I mean, seeing it was really brief. Like the whole, from the time that the woods got all kind of freaky. I mean, it was probably like 2 or 3 minutes, and then we saw it, and then that was maybe like, if we stood there looking at that thing for more than 5 seconds, I would be surprised. Like, we ran. Mm-hmm. Like it scared the crap out of us.
Oh, sure, yeah. Did it seem aggressive in the way it jumped down?
No, it was like. So, and this is kind of the thing. now too that like I'm older, like it never, like all it seemed to want to do was like stop us.
Mm-hmm.
Like now that like I'm kind of older, you know, and I look at it, it's like, you know, it kind of seems it's like, well, you know, I made the woods freaky for you guys. You kept coming. I made it freakier. You kept coming. So now turn around. Like,
Yeah.
you don't come this you're not coming over here today.
Certainly. Well, I mean, certainly something that size. If it wanted one of the three of you, it would have gotten you.
We'd be totally gone. There would be, I mean, there's no way.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So like, and that's kind of the impression, you know, that I always got for it. And it's like, I don't know if they were having, you know, Bigfoot poker night or whatever. and they were just like, you know, or, you know, you know, and then recently, like, I've been playing around with the idea of, you know, maybe if we had kept going on, or, you know, maybe if that hadn't happened and we had kept going in there, it's like maybe something would have happened to, you know, one of us or all of us, you know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah.
There's things now that, you know, that I'm older, it gives it kind of like a better, like you have a different context, right? So it's just like, if we had kept going, would we have been like missing 411 or
right.
or you know, or was there just some creepy like hobo in the woods that day? And you know what I mean?
Yeah. Was this berry season? I know you mentioned.
Oh yeah. I mean, that was like one of our summertime, you know, activities.
Mm-hmm.
Is like go in and we'd eat a crap ton of blackberries, and we'd go and we'd swim at the creek. Right, which is kind of like where we were headed, you know, and there was like this tire swing, and, you know, it was, you know, like I said, this is like the most ideal place to be a child, you know.
Right, yeah.
Like, I mean, it was so perfect. So, yeah, I mean, you know, it's interesting you said that, too, because, you know, I've listened to, like, some of the missing 411 stuff, and, you know, it's like I never put the berry thing together.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not just the 401 stuff. It's just Bigfoot encounters going back to the 1800s. It's an incredible number of people are picking berries, and then they see Bigfoot. Yeah, it's amazing.
You know, and it's crazy here. I never even really, because blackberries are just like, it's so ubiquitous here. Like it's, you know, they're literally everywhere.
So did this stop you guys from going back in the woods then?
For maybe about a week. You know, maybe about a week. And then in the ways of 9-year-old boys, we decided to hunt it down.
Oh, wow.
You know, and then we went in there and we looked for it all the time. And it was kind of like, these are our woods. Kind of, you know.
Right.
And, you know, it's like, little yappy dog trying to go after a giant pit bull or something. Not a good idea in hindsight, but you know, I remember my friend, his dad had he had a box of like old knives and stuff, and so my friend goes in the garage and he grabs this box of knives, and like we all pick the knife out. And then every time we went into the woods, man, like we were strapped. We were we were not going to be chased out of there again. And then I think if any of us had like realistically expected to see it again, we probably would not have gone in there. And it's like, you know, it was just such a, I mean, it was a pretty big woodlands, but it, you know, it wasn't like, we're not talking like square miles here. It's like we're talking acres.
Mm-hmm.
We, as kids, automatically we decided that it was kind of like more supernatural than natural.
Interesting.
Right?
That's interesting.
Well, you have to understand too, I mean, this is like mid-90s. I had never heard of no one like we didn't know what Bigfoot was. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So
even in the Northwest, I thought you guys were raised on Bigfoot out there.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I did not get to suckle at that teat.
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess this is before Finding Bigfoot and sort of after the sort of 1970s pop
Right.
culture Bigfoot boom. So maybe it just kind of faded from, the popular knowledge
Well-
at that point, a little bit.
Yeah, and like I don't know, like our families were not like we had kind of like no nonsense families, and like none of us had cable or you know what I mean. The internet was not even a gleam in Al Gore's eye. It was like,
Right.
Like-
right.
yeah, if we were gonna know about it, wouldn't have had to, one of our parents we just didn't know that it was a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so we just assumed that it was like we called it, right? We called it the Beast,
Oh.
and we called it the Beast for years. And we didn't call it like Ape Man, Monkey Man. It was the Beast.
Right.
And I think a lot of that had to do with the way that we felt walking into it, the way that the woods felt, and it didn't feel normal. You know what I mean? And the other thing too is like from a natural animal perspective, why the hell would you be white?
Yeah. See, that's a big question I have because I collect a lot of white Sasquatch reports.
Mm-hmm.
And from what from what you're describing and what other people have described to me who've gotten a close look at it, it doesn't sound like they're albino.
No.
Because they don't have the pink skin or the pink eyes
Right.
and so forth. It sounds like they're white in color. So this presents a real problem because now we have a
wood ninja who is wearing a flashlight around the woods.
Exactly. And essentially enough of them to be breeding
Yes.
where there's white ones, and it's
Doesn't make any sense at all.
it doesn't help for something that's gigantic in the first place and trying to hide in the woods, certainly.
Right. And so, yeah, we went like, I wouldn't say we went like super, I mean, I say supernatural, but like, when I say supernatural, I'm talking like, it's like more in the way that like vampires are supernatural.
Right.
It's like, I don't know. Like it's hard to really nail it down, but like, like I felt like it was a real thing in the same way that a vampire might be a real thing. Like you might, as a 9-year-old boy, run into a vampire,
Yeah. Yeah.
So like, it's still possible when you're 9 to run into to run into a vampire. Someone in the back of your head, like you think that's a real possibility.
Yeah.
and so that's kind of the class of things that we put it into, and like we talked about it for years, man, and always called it the Beast. And man, there was, I can't remember when it was, and I think it was like 6th or 7th grade, and we finally freaking had cable, right? I think one of our neighbors worked for the cable company and just stole it for us or whatever. so we finally had cable, and I'm watching the History Channel, and like on pops like this Bigfoot documentary, and they show the Patterson Gimlin film,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, holy crap! Like this thing, like this, this is a thing that happens to people, and it's not that it wasn't the same, obviously, it's different. Patty is thicker,
Mm-hmm.
shall we say, and and the color is different, but I was like, oh, this is what this is now, and I put it into that box, right?
Right.
And I was like, well, got it, it's like no longer like the Beast anymore. Like I just saw, it's all friggin' Sasquatch. Cool, awesome, that's great.
Did you remain friends with these guys?
So we were friends. We made it to about high school, and then like we had all moved several times since we had been kids, and we used to hang out a whole bunch. But we made it to high school, and we found girls, and we just didn't, instead of hanging out for the weekend with them, we were all, with their girlfriends.
Sure. Yeah, that happens.
And we just kind of, we just kind of stopped talking. So what did happen was randomly, and this happened actually more than once, but so the scaredy cat one, I moved, well, I don't know, like 10 years ago. And, one day, like, I'm driving home from work, and I look out, the window to make the turn or whatever, and I see this big, tall, lanky, goofy-haired son of a gun, and it's my buddy. Like, I recognize him instantly, because, he had the same weird, lanky, whatever, and I was like, holy crap, hey, man, how are you doing? Where do you live? Like, literally, like, across the street from where I moved to.
Huh.
And we hung out for, a year or two or whatever, and at the time, I wasn't like, I put it in this box, right, and I didn't talk to him about it at all. And I remember him saying at one point when we were kids, he said he never saw it. He just heard someone yell, "Run," and ran. And that wouldn't surprise me at all. Like, he was looking down at his shoes all the time. Like, the woods freaked him out.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then about last year, I think it was last year, I get a Facebook from the other guy. I was like, holy crap, man. And then, so, we set up time, and, we called each other. We talked for like 3 hours. And it's getting towards the end of the thing, and I was like, hey man, you remember the Beast? And it's like dead silence on the other end, and he was like, yeah, I haven't thought about that in a long time, man. And I was like, yeah, I've been thinking about it a lot recently, and I was like, yeah, what do you think that was, man? He goes, I don't know. There was a lot of, he had a lot of stuff going on at home at the time. Mm-hmm. And like, it seems like like this guy is like perpetually like haunted kind of thing. Like there's always something dark going around, with this kid. And he was like, yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I think he goes, I just always looked at it as like a wood spirit.
Wow.
And I said, really? That's interesting. And at this point, maybe it's just 2 years ago, but like at this point, I'm firm Bigfoot. Like, mm-hmm. I'm firm. This is Patty, and I'm like, it's just Bigfoot. There's no spirity. There's no woo. There's nothing. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, really? Okay. And then I go, what color do you remember it being? And he goes, black, dark black.
Wow.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Huh.
And it's like, what do you think about that, man? And I was, because I saw it and it was white. It was bright white. He says, no, man, it was dark black, and it was this evil.
Huh.
And I was like, okay, man. Like, wow.
Wow. That's kind of amazing. To me, it doesn't discount either of your stories, honestly. You may, in fact, have each seen something. Well, you'd seen what you saw. Let's just say, put it that way.
Yeah. That's where I'm at now, for sure.
Yeah.
At the time, and I was already kind of moving, and then that's what kind of sealed it for me. And I was just like, yeah, well, that figures. That fits. And, because this was over 20 years ago. I was a 9-year-old kid. Mm-hmm. And I have a 9-year-old now. Right. And I know how, well, I don't want to say I know how his mind works, but, I remember being 9, and if I had come home at 9 years old and told my dad, like, like, dude, dad just saw a freaking Sasquatch in the freaking park over there. It's like, dad, I think my dad would have been easy. It would have been like, no, man, I don't think so. Like, maybe a guy in a monkey suit, like, he would have been able to, like, it's like, you're 9 years old, you don't know what you're really looking at. Get out of here, like, monkey suit guy, or someone's playing a prank on you, or
right.
Maybe you picked up a bad mushroom in your batch of blackberries or something. But now that, like, like, I have my kid, and, like, I know, like, he's a ditz sometimes, but he's also, like, he's pretty observant, and you don't, like, misobserve something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's super interesting to me that, so the disagreement with you and your friend wasn't on what you saw, essentially. It just came down to appearances.
Appearance and like, I think feeling too,
right?
Because I never got, like, evil.
Yeah.
I got, like, get out of here.
Right. That's so interesting. That is so interesting. I'm, like, racking my brain to try to think if there's ever been a similar account where two people looked at it. Now, there's definitely been accounts where people have disagreed, where one person has seen a Sasquatch and somebody else has said, no, it was a road worker, And,
right.
Literally, like, they completely saw two different things. So, it has happened, but that's really, really interesting. And it's interesting, too, that, you sort of note that he was, having a rough time.
Yeah.
So you wonder if his actual perception was somehow affected,
That's kind of how I look at it right now, because, like, and I don't, he's not here, and, it's like, I don't have, like, the permission to talk about anything, but he was going through some major life things, and he would continue to go through, like, major life things, like, all the way up to, when I was, talking to him, he seemed to have kind of a handle on it then, but it's like, man, that guy had a hard life, man.
Mm-hmm.
Just some really devastating things. And he was, like, the nicest, coolest freaking kid, man. But it was just like, yeah, I think it was kind of like people who want to, like, cry the most are also the guys, like, smiling,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that had a little bit to do with it. And it's like, and like I said, like, I'm kind of at the point now where I think that, like, I think that we just weren't supposed to go any further that day for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And, and it's like, and we saw two different things, and maybe that's what, like, he needed to see to turn his butt around.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I kind of saw what I needed to see to turn my butt around, or maybe it was just kind of like just a manifestation of, like, our headspace,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. We'll be back with more from Gage after this. Strange Familiars is brought to you by Wild Foods. You can find them at wildfoods.co. If you enter the code STRANGE, you'll get 12% off your entire order. Wild Foods is a company that puts quality, sustainability, and health first in all of their products. They've got everything from coffee to fish oil. Every single one of their products is painstakingly sourced from small farms around the globe. Their mission is to fix the broken food system, and they believe food is medicine.
At this point, I think not only is food medicine, it's really the only form of currency that I want to really engage in anymore.
I suppose it's always been important, but its importance is certainly highlighted in these times.
Yeah, and its relationship to our health.
We love getting a box from Wild Foods. We've been using their products from the Wild 8 Mushroom Complex to the Wild Keto Bar to their Wild Coffee, and they're all fantastic. Quality products that are healthy, and you can feel good about using them because they're sourced from these small farms around the globe. Again, you can find them at wildfoods.co. Enter the code STRANGE and get 12% off. We want to thank Wild Foods for sponsoring Strange Familiars. Other than the sound of it dropping to the ground, did it make any noises?
No. Just looked at us. Like,
didn't hear it breathe in or anything like that?
No. like I said, if we were there for longer than staring at it for longer than 5 seconds, I'd be super surprised. I mean, it was. I kind of vaguely remember like watching its chest rise and fall, but I didn't hear any breathing. No, it was just like the thud, man. And we felt it. Like we were maybe 8 feet from this thing.
Ooh,
maybe.
That is close.
Yeah, this wasn't like a, saw it in my binos. I could feel it through the freaking mud, man. It's freaky. It was just absolutely bizarre. And then, we just turned around and ran.
How many years did you spend in this neighborhood then? Like after that,
it was quick. It was like I was there for maybe a year and a half in total. I haven't been back, and I've worked in the same cul-de-sac, and that I grew up in. Like recently, like within the last 2 years, and I've always kind of thought oh, maybe I'll just wander in there and go have lunch or go check it out or whatever, or like bring my kid in there and just go like take a walk or whatever. And I don't, it's like I kind of want to, but on the other hand, like I don't really want to go. And it's not because I'm not worried about it. It's just like I want to just keep it separate from. It's like my adult analytical, you know what I mean? Like
sure, yeah.
I'd rather keep it like in like the past kind of thing. Mm-hmm. I don't want to go back in there. And that I don't want to go see where what happened to the poor place. Like I'm sure it's been developed or at least partially developed. So I don't need to go see it.
Yeah. Wow, that's such an interesting story though. I'm getting that's kind of Stand By Me vibes. The kids playing in the woods, and
it's like I said, man. Like this was like such an ideal like childhood.
Mm-hmm.
Like
that's how I describe mine. I mean, growing up on the farm, just surrounded by woods, and I mean, I never ran into anything truly weird when I was a kid in the woods. I'll say I had some maybe gray experiences. Which, but that's a whole different thing. But in the woods, I always felt like totally safe, and it was just, I just spent every day. I didn't have any kids my age. I had a dog, and I would just go like every morning. I had this, it was half collie, half shepherd, very, very protective dog, and he was my right-hand man, and we would just out into the woods we went every day. And I describe it as the ideal childhood. It was just unbelievably amazing to have that space, to just roam and wander and be a kid in.
It's absolutely like, it's like, it's like I still look back on that year and a half as like when I picture like peak childhood,
mm-hmm.
like that's it, man. Like if you wanted to make a Hallmark wholesome childhood movie, like that's the scene, that's the setting.
Right.
Like,
yeah. I feel absolutely the same. Just having that, bit of woods and, I can't even put a number on how many acres it was. I came to the end eventually of it, as I got older. But before I was maybe 15, I never reached the end of it,
Yeah.
And then when I got a little older, I figured out how to get to the end of it. But it was plenty of woods for me as a little kid, for sure.
Disappointing when you reach the end too.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, come out on a road, and like, this is where this is. Okay.
Yeah, and it's not as far as you thought it was.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember walking all day and then coming out on a road and just like, oh my goodness, this is where this is. Okay.
Yeah, because I could have saved myself half an hour if I had just
taken the road.
It was perfect, and even that experience, I don't even look back at that as a negative. You know what I mean?
No, I would think, with time and, well, especially since you guys got back out there, I think, and that's the resilience of kids too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And the stupidity of kids.
Well,
also.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. And maybe a little bravado, like even for 9-year-old boys, there's a little bravado between you. Like, I'm not going to be scared.
Like I said, like our idea was like, this is our woods.
Right.
We're going back in. Like, what are we going to do for the rest of the summer? Like, you got to go back in. And none of us told any of our parents at all, ever.
Huh.
And I think we were afraid that they would take the woods away from us,
Right. Yep.
So, I mean, we got back in. I mean, we took about a week off. thought about some things. And then, and then we jumped back in and never had anything in those woods happen like that again. You know what I mean? Like after that, it was like perfectly fine.
Yeah. Never saw any footprints or weird lights or anything like that.
No, never in those woods. And then especially after talking to him, like I just think I honestly, my conclusion, right, is that we just weren't supposed to go back there that day. Mm-hmm. I don't know what would have happened if we had, I think about what he said too, and he was just like, wood spirit, man. And then like I think about how much time and fun and like just good times we had in there. And then like, so it's like part of like the more like woo, like kind of flute player side of me just kind of goes, it's like maybe the woods was like, yeah, hey, these kids are in there all the time, putting in good vibes.
Right.
And today's not a good day for them. Like something's going to go down. So let's just get them the hell out of here. No, they'll come back in next week. And, but that's, whatever. Mm-hmm. That's just that's like a more kind of a fanciful, like kind of view on it or whatever. But, it's fun.
I mean, who could say, I mean, just looking back and the fact that he says wood spirit to me is, witness impression is worth a lot to me,
Uh-huh.
Even with kids, because kids are kids, but they're not dumb. You knew what you were looking at that age, and
yeah.
So that means a lot. So for him to say that, like that's just that he has carried that impression with him, all these years, or whatever. Maybe he thought about it as an adult and came to that conclusion. But still.
His mom too was like a little more of a. At the time, my dad, we moved here from Spokane. And so Spokane, Washington, it's like, how people say like, like everyone here is like Portland hipsters. Everyone's wearing corduroys and beanies all the time and whatever. Mm-hmm. Spokane is like, everyone has a truck. There's 90% chance there's a gun rack in the truck. And like they all hunt, and all of their kids draw tags, not necessarily because their kids hunt, but so like it's changed a little bit, but like back in those days, like, my dad, all my uncles, my cousins, like deer season came, they were gone. Mm-hmm. And then, and then there were deer hanging up in the garage for a week. So my dad, that's kind of like the background that we came from. We move in, the next door neighbor is like this hippie lady, like tie-dye shirts. She drove a VW Bug. There was incense burning. So like that's kind of like the background that he had, right? Like, so like if he's going to go and he's going to talk to his mom or whatever, she's, she was like very like, spirits, this, like she wasn't like over the top, but she was like very 90s, like hipster lady, And so like, I think, so he goes wood spirit, and that's his wheelhouse, man. Like that's what,
True. Yeah.
That's like all Nag Champa and crystals, like,
right.
That's, and then mine is like, mine's like the big old white Sasquatch, and my background was like, hunter,
right?
Family,
yeah, yeah, that makes sense.
But like I said, it really opened my eyes to. I don't want to. I mean, that was like a turning point for me, where I was just like, well, it clearly wasn't. It was real, and it was certainly real while it was there. But like, I don't think this is like. I don't think what we saw was, what Bigfoot hunter guys are looking for.
Right, an undiscovered gorilla or something similar to that. Yeah. That's the only way I think that's fair to discuss it to me personally anymore. I just can't see it as I may be out there where there's actual wilderness, but especially on at least in the area where I am on the East Coast,
right?
There's not a breeding population here. There just can't be. So
I 100% agree. Like, if tomorrow, like someone were to, come on the news or whatever and was like, Sasquatch shot in Tillamook Forest. Here's the body. I wouldn't be surprised.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'd be surprised, but I wouldn't be
I get your meaning though. Yeah.
But the trouble with that is that answers like half a question, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like it does. There's hundreds of others. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, absolutely. For it to be a natural animal, it's just a difficult thing to reason around, and it's odd now because people keep talking to me, especially with my upcoming book, which kind of leans on the woo side of things.
Super excited for that, by the way. And not to cut you off, but I do want to let you know that if you decide to release that book and do an audio with Allison narrating, I will pay an obscene amount of money.
I'll have to talk to her about it. We'll see.
She cracks me up.
Yeah, I love doing the show with her. I think it's great to have a natural skeptic around to just banter with.
Well, and we'll sit there and laugh at you.
Yeah. Oh yeah. She thinks I'm bat crazy with this stuff.
Yeah, and you just go, yeah.
I mean, in any case, leaning on the woo side of this stuff, I just did a virtual Sasquatch conference yesterday where I was with a bunch of people who were doing an online conference, a bunch of speakers.
That was a Strange Brow one, right? With
yeah.
Cody?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And there were so many people talking about far stranger things than I've been kind of delicately sort of easing my way into the so-called woo side of things.
Yeah.
And there were some people talking about some really pushing the boundaries kind of wacky stuff. And I really think that what seems to be happening is it's almost gotten to the point where it's so hard to reason this as a breeding population of natural animals, and by natural I mean like bears or anything else that you'd see out there, that it's almost become harder to keep in that camp than it is to just say, wait a minute, let's take a step back and just say, we don't know what it is, but there's something really, really weird going on.
It really reminds me of there's this quote, and God, I'm going to butcher it or whatever, but they're talking about the earth is flat and it sits on the back of a turtle. And the guy's like, well, what does the turtle stand on? And the guy says it's turtles all the way down. And you're like, you have to stack all you have to stack all this stuff on top of each other, and it just puts you in this box of it can only be this and it can only be this.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, but there's this all this other stuff that's happening over there. It's like, well, I'm not even worried. I was listening to, I don't know if you can tell or not, but this is kind of low key taking over my life. I'm in a position at work where I have my earbuds in all day and I'm just consuming podcasts. So I was listening to this interview with a guy, and I think it was Sasquatch Chronicles, and he had Bobo on from Finding Bigfoot or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I've never seen the show. So Bobo's sitting there, and he seems like he's pretty solidly flesh and blood. We're gonna catch this thing, and he's telling this story about how he took out his friend's brand new thermal or FLIR or whatever it was, and he's sitting in this spot, and he has everything's good to go, and and stuff starts happening, and he kind of he finds he finds Sasquatch, and he's got it on the FLIR, and he's like, oh my god, this is amazing, this is perfect, I couldn't ask for any better video evidence off of FLIR, this is so freaking amazing. And then he goes to check it, and the camera said it was recording and everything said it was recording, and there was nothing recorded. and he was just holy crap. And he makes sure he goes nothing crazy about it. It's I called the camera manufacturer, and they said this is it happens. The card jiggles loose, and it says it's recording, but it's not recording. And but nothing funny about it. It was just the most perfect video that I was ever gonna get, and and it said it was recording, and it just so happens that it wasn't. And Wes is just like, oh yeah, crazy. That's funny how that always freaking happens, right? And he's like, yeah, it is. And then, I got another couple, and I thought they were going to come through because, I was reading them on the computer, and they're all like, 120 megabytes, 320 megabytes. And then I was like, cool, well, I got it. I got something. And then, I go to watch the video, and there's only 4 seconds of video on like 320 megabytes. It's like there's and he was just like, completely didn't work. I'm just sitting there, and I was like, man, I feel for you, but like, really?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm just like, of course. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. That's like when he said it, I was just like, well, yeah, of course you didn't get it. Like, but then, like, on the other hand, why do they care? You know what I mean? Like, turn blur mode on like you do for everything.
Sure, yeah. I don't know. It's so bizarre. I don't know why. And Tobe says it best. He says it's almost like we're not allowed to take video. Audio is fine.
Audio is fine. Yeah. I mean, like, and it kind of comes down to like, I see a white one, he sees a black one. That's what I was saying. Is like, you shoot one tomorrow, and everyone knows. It's like you literally you didn't even answer a question.
Mm-hmm.
All you did was like put a slab of meat on the table. Like you didn't answer any of the questions.
Right. Well, I mean, my personal feeling is, there've been a number of people over the years who've claimed to shoot him, and 100% of those bodies have disappeared 100% of the time. Either through some mysterious black ops, a black van rolls up and steals or they turn their back for 15 minutes to go get their buddies to help drag the body out, and they come back and it's gone.
The black ops thing, like, I don't know about, like, I find that difficult to believe, but you know what? Maybe, who knows? Like, I'm not as this has gone on, like, because I used to listen to like some of these stories or whatever, and there would be people, and like at the time where I'm just like, well, they're all completely flesh and blood. People would tell these stories, and it would just be automatically like, why are you even talking to this guy? This is so clearly like what he's saying right now is so clearly BS. And then like you have to, and I'm not even like I wasn't even like looking at my own story or whatever. Like it's like you get put in this bubble, and it's like, and then you think to yourself, oh, geez, Gage, bright white Sasquatch. Like, I don't know, Gage, I'm not like a serious like hunter, but like, I hunt, and like, deer are almost freaking impossible to see. It works. It doesn't work? Being bright freaking white.
Right, yeah.
To the point where it's just like, when my dad was teaching me to hunt, and we would go like spotting deer, he'd be like, dude, if you look for a deer, you're never, ever going to see one. And I was like, well, dude, Dad, we're out here looking for freaking deer. What am I supposed to look for? And he goes, like, you're going to look for the ears. You're going to look for antlers if they have any. And then, like, the best way to find them is their freaking bright white bushy tail. Mm-hmm. Like you see that, you automatically know. And then once you see him, you can see the rest of them. And it's just like for the longest time, I just never put it together. It's like when I'm out spotting deer, like 90% of the time I spot a buck. It's because like I saw like that ring of white.
Right. Yeah. Unless they're, it's nighttime and they're out of the tree line, and you can kind of silhouette them or something. But,
yeah.
Yeah. If you're like in the brush, I've walked right by them before,
Oh yeah.
Scared him up, and they, make me jump because I didn't see him until I was, walk right by him.
I had a couple of weeks ago, I was working for a guy, and like I was out on his deck eating lunch, and there was 4 or 5 of them sitting 30 yards from me or wherever. This is in the middle of Lake Oswego. Like they're not worried about humans. There's not a single gun owner in Lake Oswego. It's fine. I see one, and I was like, oh, cool, man. awesome to see freaking nature in the middle of this, you know, urban looking place. And then like I start looking around and I'm like, oh crap, geez, right there's another one, like not 5 feet away from it. You know, and I'm still finding them like 5 minutes later.
Mm-hmm.
There was 5 of them sitting right there in front of me. Like, that works. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
White, bright white, doesn't work.
No, it really doesn't. Unless you're in the snow.
Yeah. So I had another kind of weird thing. I don't know if you have time or whatever, but it's like...
Absolutely. I was getting ready to ask you if anything else weird had ever happened.
So this is kind of a funny one, and I just... So this happened like 3 or 4 years ago, and this is kind of not this, but like this kind of change of mindset is kind of what spurred me into like re-looking at Bigfoot again. It's like what got me into like the podcast and stuff. But basically, what happened was like I got like really hardcore into fishing, like fly fishing, tackle fishing. Like I got nuts, and my buddy got nuts with me too. And so what we would do, like we worked together, and so we got like super nuts into fishing. And what we would do is in the summer we would work 4 10s, and then we would leave Thursday night, drive to wherever, camp all weekend, leave Sunday morning, afternoon, get home, do the work. And we did this like 2 summers in a row. Every freaking weekend. It was nuts. And so one weekend we go to this place, and this place, I won't tell you where it is. I'll tell you it's in Oregon, but this is a beautiful, beautiful lake. It's small. It's really secluded. There's no one there. And I swear to God, like if I told you where it was, and like the next time I go there, if there was someone making freaking tree knocks, there might be a freaking murder. So I'll tell you it's in Oregon.
No problem. I have, believe me, I have places like that. We have code names for some of our places because I just don't want that happening. Absolutely. So like we go there, and this is probably the 5th time maybe that we've been there, and you know, it's like we're just going there. We get there, and we fish all weekend. We go to sleep Saturday night. You know, it's like just great, just freaking fantastic weekend. You know, I crawl into my hammock. A buddy crawls into his tent, and I wake up, I don't know, like 5, maybe 5:30, just kind of almost like twilighty, dawny, like not quite light yet, but you know, you can tell it's heading there. And my buddy hears me like shuffling around in the hammock trying to get comfortable, and he's like, hey Gage. I was like, dude, what man? And he goes there are freaking bears out here, man. And I was like, yeah, man, of course there are. Like, we're in the middle of nowhere. You know, this is perfect bear country. And he's like, no, they're here right now. And I go, all right, man, that's real great. And I pass back out. And I wake up, you know, 6:30 or 7, and I jump out of my hammock, and then he comes out of his hammock, and he's like, what the hell, man? And I was like, what are you talking about, dude? And he's like, dude, there are bears. They have been messing with me since 4 o'clock in the morning. What are you talking about? Like, there's no bears here. Like, I would have woken up. Like, I've got like, I'm a light sleeper, you know, especially out in the woods. Like, I'm like, there's no bears crawling around here. I was like, I would have woken up and like, you know, like, what are you talking about? And he's like, they came in about 4 o'clock, and they started touching my tent. I was like, okay, man. Well, like, crazy. And he's like, and they didn't stop until 6:30. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, they were just like rubbing against your tent for like 2 hours? And he's like, no, they would come, they would go, they left when you woke up, and then they came back, and I could hear them walking around,
and they just kept touching my tent. And I need to get the hell out of here right now. I was like, all right, man, you know, Sunday, like we were ready to go. And I was like, all right, sure. And like, you know, I get up, I get everything packed, and I was like, you know, I'm gonna go look around for tracks, man, and you know, just see. I don't want to give anyone the impression that I'm like Bob the Mountain Man. Like, I don't know what the hell I'm looking for. You know, it's like it would have to be really freaking obvious for me. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like he stepped in a mud. And he's got clear bear claws there. Oh yeah, look, bear, got it.
Right.
And,
yeah.
But I'm just looking around. I don't see anything, and nothing was taken. Nothing was like disturbed in the camp at all. Like we had food out. Like you know how like people are just like, you know, some people like tie their food up and
Oh yeah, we
you
do
know.
it here in Pennsylvania, and we only have black bear to worry about.
Yeah, we don't do it. So I mean, some people do.
Mm-hmm.
Like we don't. But you know, black bear. You know, it's like I said, like I'm not like a crazy hunter or whatever, but you know, I've got that in my background, and you know, I've shot at bear. I've never grabbed one, but like, you know, the black bear that we have here are like they see you and they're gone.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah, if they don't, then you know there's an issue with black bear. Like if they don't go, there's going to be a problem.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But like the minute that you do anything, like they go, they're gone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So like I'm looking around, and like, you know, and if they had come in, and you know, it's like we had all of our food out, like
Yeah, bear would have been all over that.
you know, and like, and we're talking at the time, I think that specific weekend we'd brought like hamburgers. Oh, and we'd caught a bunch of fish. Kind of what I do is like I would clean them in the lake. So whatever, that still could have been there. And then like, you know, you take the bones or whatever, you throw them in the fire. Like I'm not careful about it at all. Like I've just never worried about it. Maybe it's stupid, you know, but it's like, you know, I'm still alive. I'm not worried about bears. Not our black bears. Like I'm not worried about it at all. And so like nothing, 2 hours they're messing with them. Nothing is disturbed. Everything is pretty much like I've left it. There's no sign of any bears anywhere. This kid is terrified. And I'm like, I don't see anything. And he's like, yeah, you know, about right before you woke up, or about half an hour before you woke up, I was sitting there in my tent, and I had finally had enough of this. Like I had been tormented for an hour and a half. And he's like, I was going to grab my flashlight. We had big flashlights at the time, you know, big old kind of mag light looking things.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to run out there and I was going to start beating some bears because I was tired. I was completely tired. Shit. and then he's like, so I get ready. I go to grab my flashlight, and I realize I left it outside the freaking tent. He was like, I've never felt more hopeless in my entire freaking life.
Wow.
And at the time, dude, I'm laughing. Like this is funny to me. Like the experience is like, and you know, I'm kind of an ass, you know. I'm just like, oh man, I'm really sorry about that. Like whatever. All right, let's leave. We leave. You know, it's like, once again, nothing disturbed, no tracks, no anything. And then I don't really think anything more of it other than like, you know, whatever. That's freaking crazy. I can't believe they didn't mess with me. I can't believe they didn't mess with anything. Like, I'm in a hammock, right? And I'm not even in like, I brought my light hammock because it was like the weather, you know, it was summer, weather was perfect. Like I had a bug net. I didn't even bring a tarp, you know, like there was no rain. If I had gotten up and looked out of the bug net, like you know, I could have seen anything. And so whatever, we go. It doesn't occur to me until like literally maybe like 3 months ago. And I think I was listening to like, I think your podcast. And like, I know this has kind of been a theme where it's just like, I just went back to sleep.
Oh yeah.
Like,
yeah.
And I was like, no.
Yep. It wasn't for you at that time, for whatever reason. It was for him for whatever reason. And yeah, that kind of playful behavior, that isn't bear, you know, to me. Maybe I'm wrong, but it just doesn't seem like a bear's going to be like super playful like that and just kind of mess with somebody. They're going to come in, eat your food. If they want in your tent, they're going to just rip through the side of your tent.
And so like I started thinking about it, right? And I was just like, am I just like trying to like give myself like another like encounter here or whatever? Like, but I'm like, dude, I would not have gone back to sleep, right? Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, take Bigfoot out of the equation. Somebody says there's a bear in camp, you don't roll over and go back to sleep.
You freaking get up
Yeah.
and let or even like just poke your head up and take a look. I could have seen it, and like, there are a bear there. Okay,
right.
Like I didn't even like. I was just like, oh, that's nice, man. Okay, and then nothing is disturbed, and then I'm just like, it's such a questionable little sighting for me because I'm, and if I hadn't automatically just like turned around and gone back to sleep, if there had been like you said, like a bear wouldn't mess with you for 2 hours. It would have clawed the way in the tent.
Yeah, if it wanted in, it would go in. I mean, the same could be said of Bigfoot. I often wonder why it respects nylon tent, because if it wanted to get you, it could pick up the tent or just come right through.
Yeah, and like I think about that too, but I think honestly, the same reason that like it respects the nylon tent is like the same reason like you do. For some reason, you jump into that and you know that it's like nothing. Mm-hmm. But you get in there and you're like, I'm protected. You know what I mean? It's like
when I camp with Chad, Chad will have an open tarp, and I insist on having a tent. I like, no, I need something around me. I don't know why. I know it's silly. I know anything that really wants to get through that nylon can come through, but
yeah, and like moreover, like it'll probably be a bigger death trap for me if something actually wants in here. Like I completely understand all of this intellectually, but give me my little snuggle blanket and my teddy bear, and
well, for me too, part of it is I like having that fly close too. I don't want to just wake up and see something.
Right.
And that night we were in Pandemonium, I had tied the fly back, and I did some kind of knot that I couldn't undo at night. So I had the fly was open, but it wasn't facing. So I was facing Chad's open lean-to basically, and he was facing out. So whatever with hands came into our camp and wound that spring onto the paracord that I had my pack hanging from. And I got if it was a person, fine, but they're nuts if they did it.
Right.
But whoever or whatever did that was looking right into his lean-to, right on him. And so I was facing the other way. I would have had some nylon between me and it. Now, I'm not saying it didn't, it was a weird night. It could have bent over and looked through mine, too. I don't know. But that was...
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff, man. And it's like, and it just... The bear... He said bears, plural.
Right. Yeah, that's the other thing I wanted to bring up. Like, why would he think multiple,
And I like... And like I don't talk to him anymore, like sadly, like because like right when I started, like I wish I'm thinking about like talk to him again or whatever. I kind of broke off the whatever. So but like I just want to like talk to him and just be like, what, bear for sure.
Yeah.
Or like and I'm like, and so like now I'm sitting here and I'm like I didn't see anything. I literally slept through it. Mm-hmm. I think if you were talking to 99% of the people out there, like that's it, right? It's like, oh, freaking bears mess with this guy all night, crazy. Right. But it's just kind of like where I'm in this headspace where like there's these themes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you're like, am I just seeing what I like?
Yeah, I can't say, but I can tell you, well, you said it yourself, just that, and then for whatever reason, I rolled over and went back to sleep. That's the drum beat that's been going on, pretty consistently through the show here.
Yeah. And it wasn't like, for whatever reason, like I was just so unconcerned, which is stupid.
Right. Yeah.
Like, so freaking stupid. Like...
Yeah, it makes no sense. It makes no sense at all. Very, very strange. So one more question before I let you go, and this is something I just try to ask everybody. Have you at any time in your life experienced sleep paralysis?
No, I haven't.
All right. Very, very good. Very interesting.
I know that kind of probably throws off you.
No, it doesn't. No, it's about, I'd say about probably 90% of the witnesses I talk to. I ask and I get an affirmative, but it's not, it's not everyone. It's not 100%. There are a good few that just don't. So, but it's I'm sort of keeping track, and somebody else wrote and asked me to keep asking people because they find it very interesting.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. I just I don't think I've ever had that happen. So
as far as I'm concerned, you're lucky. It's not a pleasant thing.
It's interesting. It's the kid who had the bears.
Mm-hmm.
About maybe 6 months after that happened, he started getting it regularly.
Interesting. That's very interesting.
And he would, and that's actually how I found out about it, because that happened before I started listening to you guys. Well, you guys, I kind of lump all you weirdo podcasters into the same group.
Yeah, that's
but that's he. Yeah, I was I don't know, 3 or 6 months or something afterwards. I worked with him, and he came in one day and he's like, you know what this sleep paralysis is, man? And I was like, yeah, no, I have no idea what that is. And he started explaining it to me, in kind of the kind of general terms.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wow, man, that sounds like it sucks. Sorry. I'm really sorry that's happening to you.
I have talked to people who are very matter-of-fact about it, and even my son says he enjoys it. My son experiences it and says, oh, yeah, it's pretty neat. Yeah, more power to him. I wish I could be that settled where I could just kind of ride it out like you can.
He was so underspoken, dude. It was if he came up and he was asking you something, that was the first indication that there was a freaking problem.
Mm-hmm.
This guy would you could shoot this guy in the leg, and he would walk up a mountain, and he would only stop to be hold on, I gotta empty my boot.
Right.
And so he comes up and he's you know about this, and I was oh, and yeah, he said it to me, and the turns, and he was, and he's it's terrifying, blah blah blah. It's and I was oh god, dude, this must really really suck. But I'm kind of understated too, so I was God, that sounds like it sucks, dude. I don't know, what do you want me to?
Right. Well, yeah.
And he struggled with it. I suspect that, and a couple other things are I drove him into a really weird place,
mm-hmm.
to the point where I had to stop talking to him.
Super interesting that it came on after the quote unquote bears.
Yeah,
super interesting.
And I'll talk to him again. I know I will. We've been friends since we were freaking 14. We're just kind of in a break right now.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I'm trying to let him clear his head a little bit. So
sure.
That's just the Bigfoot weirdness, man. So what are you gonna do?
Well, Gage, thanks so much for sharing your story. In general, I think you were really lucky to see what you did. You know what I mean? It wasn't super negative experience. It didn't keep you out of the woods for very long. I think, in a way, you're just kind of had a really lucky, really unique, really incredible experience.
No, I just do. Like I said, I think that is, when I look back at the Wonder Years, that's part of it, man.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just, it's not everything was great, except it was this was awesome, the whole thing.
Yeah. I think that's generally great to have that sort of positive attitude about it. I think it's a great thing. So, man, thanks for sharing. Really incredible account.
Yeah, no problem, man. Thank you.
If you're raising a puppy, you do not want to raise a dog man. You want to raise a good partner, a partner for life, To do that, you can have the help of 90 Days to the Perfect Puppy, headed by Tina and her many years' experience of training dogs. I know we've come a long way from a rolled-up newspaper. How are things different now?
So if you think about training a puppy or raising a dog, it's more like parenting. It's not like we send them off to class. It's about the magic that happens in every single interaction and managing what we do to get the outcome that we want from that puppy. And so ideally, it's a journey that families and their dog are taking together.
And your clients through 90 Days to the Perfect Puppy have access to many online resources as well as your experience. How many years have you been doing this?
I'm a second-generation dog trainer. My parents were in the business, and so I was blessed to grow up not far from where Soraya is, and to get a lot of experience from a lot of really amazing behavior minds. And then I continued my career down here. So I've actually been a dog trainer almost 28 years.
That's an amazing resource to have, as well as the entire resource of the 90 Days to a Perfect Puppy. You can find it at sithappens.us. Look for the link, 90 Days to the Perfect Puppy, at the top of the page. I want to take this time to thank our patrons. Thank you, patrons. Your help is greatly appreciated. We could not make Strange Familiars without you. If you like what we're doing, if you like the content we make, and you'd like to hear more, you can become a patron at Patreon. It's patreon.com/strangefamiliars. $3 a month gets you full extra episodes of Strange Familiars. We do at least one every month for our patrons. Often we do more. Go to patreon.com/strangefamiliars. You can see all the different levels of support there for things like t-shirts and copies of my books and CDs and more. Patreon.com/strangefamiliars. If you don't like the idea of a monthly subscription like Patreon and you'd still like to help, you can make a one-time PayPal donation. If you go to strangefamiliars.com, look in the show notes under every episode, you'll see a paypal.me link. You can click that and make a donation there. Everyone can help by sharing the show on social media, by liking and subscribing wherever you're listening, whatever podcatcher you use, and by leaving us those nice 5-star reviews, which helps get the show in front of new potential listeners. And speaking of PayPal donations, I'd like to thank Zarin K for a wonderful PayPal donation. A great help. Thank you so much.
Much appreciated. Thank you.
And we're going to get to that Site 7 information in a minute.
Yeah, which is, I don't want to be a bit of a, I don't want to tell too much, but it is pretty cool.
Let's talk about the photo of the week first, though.
Okay.
It's an angry bear.
I mean, he could be in a really good mood and we're misreading that, but he looks like an angry bear.
He looks... I wouldn't want to give him a hug.
No, I wouldn't want to give him a hug.
He does not look like he's in the mood for hugging. It's sort of on theme because Gage talked about some possible bear in one of his stories.
Plus, I think this bear just kind of suits a lot of people's, including myself, our moods lately. So
It is.
you just want to go out on a rock somewhere and sit in your own fat and scream. So
It's a really cool photo. I don't know if this was an amateur. I mean, they got a heck of a snapshot.
yeah, and I can't tell. There's no context for it. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a bear sitting in a zoo, if it's in the wild somewhere. Yeah, who knows? But it's a really, really cool photo. I really, really like it. As with every photo of the week, you can go to the show notes under this episode at strangefamiliars.com. You can see the photo. If you click on it, it'll take you to our Etsy shop where you can purchase it. Angry bear photo you looked up before, and you said you're guessing sometime between the 1920s and the 1940s, right?
Yeah, that's my guess because you can see that it's made with the gelatin silver process where sometimes you can see the silver kind of start to float to the surface after time. So it's not a super new photo, so it has to be older, but I can't break it down based on that size to a particular decade, but pre-1950, how about if we say that?
Pre-1950. I think I put in Etsy like
20s to 40s.
Something like that. I think in the actual listing it says 1930s. It's just a guess, but it's really, really cool photograph We're asking $13 for it. Check it out. Also in the Etsy store is my illustration that I used for this episode that originally appeared in my book, Bigfoot in Pennsylvania.
So that's the original artwork.
That's the original artwork. What I've been doing is putting these original illustrations up on Etsy with a copy of the book, so you can get the book signed by me, the illustration signed by me. So you have the illustration and the book in which it appeared originally.
Oh, okay.
I think I've already sold all of the creature drawings from Beyond the Seventh Gate. All the creatures are gone. So now we're working on Bigfoot in Pennsylvania.
Till all the Bigfoot are gone.
Till all the Bigfoot
Till they go extinct.
illustrations are gone. A few of them are gone already. Then I'll do West Coast Wildman and Don't Look Behind You. But if there's an illustration that you're interested in from one of those books, you probably want to get it now before I put it up on Etsy. That's your best chance. Depending what it is, I can give you a price on it, so you can contact me directly about that. The other thing I've been doing is making sort of paranormal artifacts. The most recent one I did was the Lee Master skull, which was not his actual skull. I did not dig up Lee Master. But it was the plastic skull I found when we were doing the Lee Master investigation in back of Avondale there. One of the many skulls I find on paranormal investigations. And I painted it, as per your suggestion, like one of the Hallstatt skulls, as a sort of memento mori to Lee Master. That sold immediately, a couple minutes after it was done. I did another painting that was on a slate roofing tile that came from the ruined flint mill on Toad Road. That sold right away. I did another carving before out of green stain wood of a witch or wild woman face that I picked up on Toad Road. I sold that. So I'm making these sort of paranormal artifacts. People sell these haunted dolls and stuff on eBay. And I think usually it's a matter of them finding a creepy looking doll and saying, "This is haunted, I guarantee it."
There is a dubious scientific process, I will say,
Yes.
with the haunted
Yes.
objects.
Yeah, often I keep them in my house and I ensure that they're haunted by the time I sell them. Or
There's a similar thing that happens with hair and photos too.
Yes,
I think a lot of people have friends at Great Clips.
So the difference between these things that I'm doing is they actually come from real paranormal areas that I'm picking up on paranormal investigations. I'm not claiming they're haunted, but they're coming from Toad Road. They're coming, in the case of Lee Master's skull, that came from property behind Avondale that Lee Master would have owned. These are actual paranormal artifacts, as I'm calling them. They're things that I've picked up and then turned into art, but I picked them up at places that were really, associated with paranormal stuff already. So you can look for those in our Etsy shop as well. Speaking of haunted artifacts, Greg and Dana Newkirk, who run the Traveling Museum of the Paranormal and the Occult, they have many, many haunted artifacts in their museum. If you ever get a chance to see it, it's really interesting, really cool. They go to a lot of paranormal conventions and stuff and bring their whole museum with them. It's really, really neat. And of course, they're from the Hellier series as well. They are holding an online paranormal conference called PhenomenaCon. kind of hard to pronounce. PhenomenaCon.
Phenomena.
That's going to be May 1st through 3rd. I think most of the Hellier cast is speaking.
Oh, that's cool.
I'm speaking. Joshua Cutchin's speaking. So you want to look up the Traveling Museum of the Paranormal and the Occult. I think you have to sign up through their Patreon. But if you look it up, you can find them all over social media, Greg and Dana Newkirk. That's May 1st through 3rd. I think it's $15. And then you get all weekend, basically, a whole weekend of speakers. They got a really good lineup.
It's almost like people were available.
Yeah. Well, it's a wonderful thing because
that's really...
this is the second online conference I've done this year. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think people are being really creative. Like, we can't do these conferences. Let's do them online. So it's just really, really neat. I'm happy people are doing that.
It's like an interesting time for the barriers between even mid-range celebrity and
you mean access to
people.
Yeah,
like people in their houses giving shows.
Well, you were telling me about like
Robin Hitchcock does a show every Wednesday.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I thought about it doing some music myself that way coming up. We'll see. I've got some new songs I might try out that way.
We're gonna have to clean though. That's the thing. Like we've successfully avoided cleaning for a while now. If we'd have to clean, I think it might be new dice.
All right, as promised, little neat Site 7 information. I found this to be just stunningly cool. My friend and fellow paranormal investigator and writer, Rick Fisher, great guy, he put some photos up on Facebook the other day, one of which was a pure white deer, presumably albinistic. But some other photos he had were in the general region of Site 7.
Mm-hmm. Enough where you recognized it?
Enough where I thought, I wonder if that white deer is there, because, and already I'm thinking, that would be stunningly amazing if that was in Site 7. So I shot him a message. I said, Rick, where was this photo taken? If you're in the Strange Familiars Gathering group on Facebook, or if you're a patron and you're in our Discord, the Strange Familiars Discord, you can see these photos. There are the photos of the white deer. And sure enough, it was right on the hill, taken from the road, looking into Site 7. He took this photograph. It's amazing. So this history of...
And this isn't, I'm going to chime in here too, and like, this isn't one of those photos where you're like, I guess that could be, like, this is very obviously a white deer.
Yeah, it's absolutely...
There isn't one of those like, well, I guess if I squint and then I pretend that's a dog. No, it's definitely a white deer.
Yeah, and I mean, he identified right where it was.
So then I was so obsessed with it, was it the day that we saw that we went out to look for it?
Yeah. So you had never actually been. I mean, you knew generally where it was because we drive.
Yeah, but I've never been
it's over that hill over there.
Never been on an adventure proper.
Yeah, we were hoping against hope that we might scare up the white deer and see it when we walk through there, but no such luck.
I found poison ivy, so
there
was pretty close.
But I did take you to the other part where we see the lights, and I liked your impression there. You're like, oh, I thought for sure I'd see like a wall or something that would...
With something very obvious, like, don't you see the building over there with the green light? Yeah, no.
No, it's just it's where two hills meet in the woods.
There shouldn't be any lights down there.
That's what I've been saying. I don't, I
guess I'll have to go back at night.
Yeah, the leaves are coming out, so it gets harder and harder to see the more leaves there are. So,
but lights should help.
Well, this is the time of the year I went out with Soraya, and he just...
You didn't see anything?
We saw flashes, and that was about it. But in any case, this white deer is... I mean, it would be special no matter what. It's extremely special. It's a wonderful thing. But with this history of people seeing white things at Site 7, and even of stories of...
people with albinism that lived in that area.
Yeah, either a family or a single hermit with albinism. We've heard stories of both. It's just amazing. It's stunning. My jaw just fell open when he told me that's where it was. Very, very interesting. And somebody said to me, actually several people said to me, do you think this explains then what you saw previously?
Yeah, when you saw something white.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, really, maybe.
I mean, there's also the possibility that there's more than one.
Right, because you said there is a genetic component to albinism. It's very rare. According to what I read for the Bigfoot book, it's between 1 in 20,000 and 1 in 1 million animals are albino. So I guess they don't have an exact figure there.
But with interbreeding in deer, I think it might happen maybe a little bit more often than that.
Even still,
it's still rare.
Yeah, it's still amazing. If this white deer explains anything I saw there, it doesn't make it any less magical to me.
No.
It's stunningly cool. I'm so excited about this. And boy, I just hope no hunter takes it out or no car hits it, because it's a beautiful animal. It's absolutely beautiful. It's so pure white in that photograph.
And wait till we see this when we flash on it and the deer itself is holding up different colored lights.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome. So news from these Site 7 news and updates and things we keep finding out, it seems like there's no end to it. It's really, really cool, really amazing. So I guess we'll keep finding out more as time goes on, and we'll see. Thanks for listening, everybody. I want to thank Wild Foods. Once again, wildfoods.co. Remember, you can use the code STRANGE for 12% off your entire order. We'll be back soon with more Strange Familiars. Strange Familiars is a production of Dark Holler Arts, music, books, art, podcasts, and more. darkhollerarts.com. Intro and background music is by Stone Breath. Go to stonebreath.bandcamp.com for more. We are on Facebook, facebook.com/strangefamiliars, where you can join the Strange Familiars Gathering group, and we are on Instagram @strangefamiliars.